Hello, welcome to another OpenSwoole video, and my name is Savi. This is going to be the first part of two videos where we're going to build an input validation for our API. In this first part, we are going to build a command to generate a factory based on a model. So these factories are going to generate records, and we can use those records for our tests for us to be able to properly build our API input validation. So let's see. If you already developed with Laravel, you might have seen these before, which are factories, model factories. And they serve to the purpose of when you need to generate a record or a structure for you to save later after updating something. You can use this factory to prepare an instance populated for you. Usually is actually the only place that I ever used factories are for tests, and this is the purpose here. I'm creating factories so then I can use them on tests, and let's do it. Knowing that we'll start with factories, let's start and create a command for us to generate a factory. So let's go there and create a new command here. Okay, and this is going to extend command. Okay, and now that we are extending commands, I have some pseudocode prepared for us, and we'll just go over it. Basically, this is going to be how we call the command: is generate factory, generates models factory, and the only parameter is model, which is we are going to say which model we're going to generate a factory for. And then we have to implement the execute command. I already have the execute command created. Let's go over what it is doing right now. The class is a little bit long, but I believe if we split it, we break the idea of what it's doing. So I have this trade-off in my mind where if you make the methods too short, or by forcing it to be short when it's not the case, you might actually break the idea into smaller pieces than enough for them to be better understandable. So here we have basically the Symfony style for us to print pretty stuff in the console, and then we get the model. The model is required, by the way, so if the user doesn't pass the model, it's going to error right there. I don't have to test it. And then the file system. Here comes the first thing that we are adding to our project, the file system. So let's go ahead and install the file system library. And the file system library that I'm using is fly system from the PHP League. So let's go there and install it. So we go here, composer, acquire League fly system. There it is, we have it installed. So the way I'm going to use it is by putting in the container, because this is the type of class that we don't want to actually be doing stuff when we are testing. So the way I'm going to add it to our functionality is by adding it via container, so I can mock it in case I need for test purpose or for any other reason. If I want to use a different file system, things like that. So let's go there and customize our bootstrap dependencies and add it for us. So I already have this method prepared here. This is going to be how it looks like. We are basically setting file system, and we are giving the fly system instance back. Now we just have to call it here this way. Let's put at last, just because it was added last. Okay, so now we can call the fly system. Going here, this is going to work. Okay, and then we have the location for where our model is going to exist. So we grab the model that we are getting here, and we're going to create another, actually, we're going to retrieve the model from here. So why, actually, I'm not going to retrieve. Why I'm doing this? I'm doing this because in case the user refers a model that doesn't exist, I alert it right here and interrupt with a failure, saying that the model doesn't exist. And then the factory location. The factory location, I'm going to create another directory here called factories. And the factories are going to exist inside that directory. And then I check if the factory already exists. If it already exists, I don't have to create it again. I say I fail this command saying that the factory is already there. And then I go there and I read the stub. I expect a stub to be there. A stub is going to be a file that is actually the skeleton, a template for the new class that we're going to create. And then I write into the factory location, which is going to be here. And I process the stub. Why I have to process a stub? And here comes the second package that we're going to install in this video. We have to process the stub because we have to update to the new condition. For example, if we create a factory for the token model, we won't be using the same class name or the same parameters inside the class content that we would use for the model user. For example, the factory for a token will be token factory, and the factory for users would be user factory. So that's why we're going to process here to replace that. And for that, we are using a library called mustache. So let's go there and composer require mustache. Okay. Now that mustache is installed, what we will do is I have another method prepared for us, which is going to process the stub content. Here we are. And this is the method that we were calling right here. And here it is. We simply instantiate the mustache engine from that package. I will put the link in the description for these libraries. And then I render, replacing the model by the parameter that we are passing. So if we go here, we're passing the model as parameter and replacing everywhere we have this mark, this mustache, we're going to put this instead. So that's basically what we're doing there. Let's just import this class to make this work properly. And as soon as we replace, I check if the factory is located where it's supposed to. And if it is, we skip this part. If it's not, we throw an exception saying, oh, it failed because it didn't create a factory. In case it creates, here we are. So basically this is all we're going to do here. This is a command that actually generate factory classes for us based on models. And now we have to make sure that this is working. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to simply check by tests. So let's create a test for this. And I already have some tests prepared, but let's go through here. So I'm going to create a new class, generate factory, and test. Okay, and as every test we are adding extends test case, and we will have to use our app test trait. Here we are for our application container to test our Slim application, right? And then we bring over from other tests this setup here. Here we are where we have to also update. We're going to add our new command here so we can test, right? So I'm adding these to our tests. In the future, I'll have to add this to our application. So let's go there, generate factory. That's it. So now we are good on that side of things. Let's go for our first test. I prepared the test here, which is going to be the most complex test today. And here we are. I already counting on something. Let's go there after. So here we are. We make sure that the file system is not going to actually write file system in our directories during tests, because we don't want that. We're just going to fake stuff assuming that everything in the file system part is actually working. And then we get the container from the app, which is global. You can see in the previous videos why that is global during the time when we build this app. And then we grab the file system from the container. Okay. By grabbing from the container, this mock is going to make this file system that we're grabbing from here a mocked instance instead of the real instance. So instead of writing the real file system, we're going to be expecting some methods to run, and I'm going to show you in the further lines here. So in the factory location, I just mimicking what we have in the commands, so I can assert and create stuff like that. Let's go further and see. So I have this got stub here to mark at the moment when the actual command is actually using the stub. So why that is important? That is important for me to make sure that the command is really using the stub that I'm passing. So by that happening, I know that the command is working as expected. Okay, so let's go to our first mock. Should receive. So I'm saying that like the file system mock should receive file exists. So if we go back to our command, the file exists is the first method that we call on our file system class object. And this file exists checks if the model location exists. So let's go there on the tests and see model location. If this is the current call, because we call file exists multiple times, 3 times to be more precise. And if this is the case, if I'm actually running file exists to check the model location, I say, okay, the model is there. If I call for the factory location and I didn't get the stub yet, I say, okay, factory is not there. But at the time when I already got the stub, I say, okay, we already got the stub, so we already passed the moment where we created the factory. So, okay, true. The file factory is there. So by doing this, I'm faking the creation in the file system. And if none of these are the case, I throw an exception. I failed actually the test because this is actually a not expected case. Okay, file system should receive read, which is another method that we use there. I use read so I can read the stub. So if we go there, here we are. I'm reading from the stub. This is actually a very common strategy for generators out there. So usually they use template engine like Mustache or something similar. And here I read, and what I'm doing here is I check if the stub is the expected one, and then I mark as, okay, this is the stub, I got the stub, and then I'm passing a simple text. I'm not actually grabbing from the real file system. I'm passing a sample so I can verify if it's processed after. So here we are. When I run read, I give back this content, and then I assert that when we run write, which is at this moment right here, right after getting the stub, when we write, I'm actually passing as parameters, actually expecting as parameters the factory location and the content, and the content is already parsed because the mustache happens right there. Let's process stub right there. So here we are. At this moment, all the mocks necessary are put in place. The comments explain further what they are doing, and then I run the command. Okay, I run the command for tests, and I pass the model, and then I assert that the command is successful, and I assert that the got stub ran. Okay, so if we go there and run this specific test, okay, I just noticed let's put on hold that I didn't create the mock file system. So if we go in our test case, I'm going to edit there because more tests might use this mock file system. So I have this procedure ready here. What I'm doing is I'm basically grabbing the container and I'm overriding whatever is in the file system right there. Okay, so here we are using mockery class. We don't have this installed in our application yet. I had the intention a while ago, but it happens that we didn't have the opportunity yet to make this really necessary, and now we have. So let's go there and add it. So I have another terminal here. Okay, for development purpose, what this means. So if we go on our composer JSON, mockery added to the required dev. It's not going to run in production. And here I'm just going to import the class. Now we are mocking the file system class. We're giving back a mockery so we can add all those expectations on it. Okay, so now this is not erroring anymore. Now we can go there and proceed fast. Okay, so our command is in theory passing. So other tests that I'm expecting to be doing here is basically test if the command fails in a simpler case. In a simpler case scenario where I simply do everything again. I could probably reuse this in another submethod, private method. And then I just expect the file exists, and in the file exists, I say that the model already exists. So here we are, test fail if factory already exists. Okay, actually, if I say that the factory exists, this in the first scenario was false and didn't get stub. In the second scenario, I'm just analyzing this. So whenever I get a factory test checked, I say it already exists. So if this already exists, I'm expect an error in the display. Okay, so let's go there and see if it's failing as expected. Okay, everything passed. Now we can just check if the other check. So for example, if we are calling a model that doesn't exist, this is the case here. So go there again. I don't even need the factory location anymore. If the model doesn't exist, error again. So let's go there. Okay, so everything seems to be working as expected. And since that this is working as expected, let's clear this terminal and continue here. So now we try to generate our factory. At this moment, we have to go here and add our command. So we just only added to our test, so our test would work. So let's go here and duplicate this line, generate factory. There it is. And I just remembered a little problem that we usually get when we forget something, right? Which is, I'm saying that the root location for file system is at the root directory. So this might cause a little problem when it comes to the real location of the files that we need. So let's bring these parameters to the top so I don't have to search them all over the place. Okay, and let's add these, also these. Okay, so this is going to be our stub location. Let's put it like this. Okay, so now let's just double check our tests are not passing anymore. And our tests are not passing anymore simply because the parameters are not the same anymore. So let's fix our tests according to this finding, right? And the stub, okay, source, no stub here as well, and stub here, source. I can probably make it better, but let's keep it simple. So we go here. Okay, now we fix our tests, and let's see if our command works. So, oh, I just forgot our stub. I have a stub ready for us in a subdirectory inside the commands. Okay, let's put it there. Here is our stub. This is the mustache. Okay, so let's see if it works this time. All right, factory created the location user factory. So if you go there, here we are. We have our factory. So now I can start creating users as soon as I configure this factory. Thank you. See you in the next video when we proceed with the actual usage of this factory in order to get some further tests done.